On the surface, she looked like a harmless little spirit. But as she grew, she became the dreaded Despair Witch. In truth, however, her real form was nothing more than a tiny tree seed. Before encountering her, I had just decided to join a hunting club event. Soon after, I received a message from Kim Suho saying he needed to meet me on Friday. But before handling these two matters, I wanted to acquire 2 top-tier items from the novel's storyline. The next day, I set off straight away. My destination, Gory Mountain in Jeju Province. It was famed as a sacred training ground for martial artists. But it wasn't just martial artists who came here. Treasure hunters and adventurers also flocked to the mountain, since it was rich with rare resources. Among them, wild ginseng was the most prized. The adventurer briefing me about Gory Mountain was one of those treasure seekers. Even though I told him I wasn't after ginseng, he still looked doubtful. As I walked deeper into the forest, I tripped on a tree root. When I looked back, I was stunned to find a wild ginseng hidden beneath it. It seemed unbelievable, but considering my extraordinary luck, maybe it wasn't so strange. While climbing the mountain, I ate part of the ginseng's root. Thanks to my ability to modify settings, consuming it temporarily boosted all of my attributes by 2 points for 30 minutes. Still, it felt like a waste. Selling the entire root could have easily cleared my debts. But right now, strengthening myself was far more important. After scaling a steep cliff, I reached Gory Mountain's hidden dungeon, the Undead Lair. The dungeon's boss monster was a high-tier death knight. Even with the ginseng boost, I doubted I could withstand a single strike from him, but I wasn't afraid. My goal today wasn't the boss, it was the hidden stage inside the dungeon. That meant I only needed to clear the lower-ranked undead. With my bullet time ability, they posed little threat. After mowing down hordes of undead, I used clairvoyance to confirm a shortcut leading directly to my destination. Then came the true slaughter. The cave floor soon filled with corpses of the undead. This brought me closer to crossing into the hidden domain of Evangeline. The witch was the boss of this secret dungeon stage. In future storylines, she would establish her own undead fortress during the X arc. But at this point in time, Evangeline had not yet taken human form. My target today was her. Defeating her would grant me 2 items. One, Ether, a growth-type equipment. The other, Evangeline's Seed. In my original novel, those items helped the demon Tomer rise to become one of the ruling cadre. And since my growth was already accelerating, a growth-type weapon like Ether was perfect for me. Before long, I stood at the entrance to the hidden stage. Using clairvoyance, I spotted a massive withered tree ahead, and beneath it sat Evangeline, quietly and alone. She was still in her juvenile phase, just a spirit form, harmless for now. But I knew better. Even if I didn't act, once the demons arrived, her fate would be the same. A witch in spirit form was difficult to kill with firearms, so I summoned a light attribute spear using my sacred mark. With the ginseng's boost, I almost felt like a master on the level of Yu Yeon-ha and her group. The spear pierced the young witch, yet she didn't vanish immediately. It took several minutes before she slowly dissolved, finally dispersing into pure light. But that didn't mean Evangeline's existence had ended. What remained before me was the seed, the crucial item that could give birth to the Despair Witch. Beside it lay Ether, the growth-type fluid equipment capable of strengthening both people and objects. I collected the items and retraced my steps back. By evening, I returned to my dormitory. After equipping Ether, its binding effect activated, permanently boosting all my upgradable stats by 0.6. The equipment couldn't be transferred or reassigned, but that permanence only made me more satisfied. At last, I had reached the baseline level of a cube student. Next, I planned to sell the remaining ginseng through purple smoke, since money was still tight. Today had been full of gains. But the greatest of all was Evangeline's Seed. Though the Despair Witch sounded like a villain, if raised properly, she could become one of my greatest allies. Germinating the seed was simple. Just feed it a few drops of fresh blood instead of water. But the witch's personality would depend on the one providing the blood. That meant I had to be extremely careful. I decided the donor should be chosen from the main cast. Their temperament was reliable, but obtaining blood from Kim Suho and the others wouldn't be easy. So for now, germination had to wait. Exhausted from the day, I prepared to sleep, knowing tomorrow would likely bring a tough battle. The next morning, members of the hunting club gathered at Bibo Spring in Jeju Province. Naturally, I was among them. The club held one hunting trip every month, targeting harmful beasts and birds. But today's scenario was uncertain. The changes revolved around Sven. Originally, the plot had Chai Na-yoon injured and Sven perishing on the spot. That setup was meant to draw Kim Suho's attention toward Chai Na-yoon. Later, when everyone believed the demon's true target was Myung-ha, she would be kidnapped. But right now, Sven showed no signs of self-destruction. He could even control a fragment of demonic power. At my current level, I was certain I couldn't defeat him. If only Sven ended up like Yeonju, dying as originally scripted, then I wouldn't have to worry anymore. While I was focused on Sven, Chai Na-yoon noticed. She must have realized I had been secretly watching them. Even though, earlier, She acted as if she didn't care at all. But now, seeing me around again, Chai Na-yun couldn't help but suspect, did I perhaps have feelings for her? At that moment, Sven suddenly cautioned her to be careful, since there had been frequent disappearances lately. But when Chai Na-yun replied, saying I didn't seem like that kind of person, I earned the chance to make a request from her. Later, when we split into smaller groups for the hunt, Sven stopped holding back. He unleashed his demonic powers, swiftly devouring creatures one after another. Not long after, Chai Na-yun's voice echoed nearby. She proudly carried her prey, thinking she had won. But when she saw the beasts lying behind Sven, her eyes widened in shock. Unable to deny the results, she admitted defeat and asked what wish he wanted granted. To her surprise, Sven confessed on the spot. Without hesitation, he declared that his wish was to date Chai Na-yun. Hiding in the shadows, I wasn't surprised. The demon Sven had contracted with was one of lust. Since becoming a maiden, his desires had been overwhelming. It was impressive he had managed to restrain himself this long, but Chai Na-yun rejected him without hesitation. She explained that no one in their right mind would accept a confession from someone they'd only known for less than a week. The response left Sven visibly dejected. I, however, kept my eyes locked firmly on him. Then Chai Na-yun added something else. She said she only liked people stronger than herself, so it was impossible for her to accept someone like Sven. Hearing those words and watching her turn away, Sven finally lost all control. In a sudden frenzy, he lunged at the completely unprepared Chai Na-yun. After a relentless assault, he thought he had her, but I arrived just in time, blocking most of his attack with my ether shield. I wanted to check on Chai Na-yun, but Sven's movements in his demonic state were far too fast. Before I could react, he seized me and dragged me away. Chai Na-yun, desperate to save me, drew her bow, but it had already snapped. With no weapon left, she used her own hand as an arrow, gathering raw mana at her fingertips. In front of us, Sven had fully transformed into a demon. Realizing how dire my situation was, Chai Na-yun didn't hesitate any longer. As she released her power, a massive wave of mana filled the battlefield. In my original novel, there were always characters with tremendous potential, yet many of them never reached their peak simply because they had chosen the wrong weapon. Chai Na-yun was one of them. Her natural talent was never meant for bows. If she truly embraced arrows as her weapon, she could rival even Kim Suho. Fueled by rage, Chai Na-yun unleashed a devastating energy arrow. She herself didn't even realize what she was doing. Right after, she quickly asked me if I was alright. When she heard I was fine, she smiled in relief. But the next second, dizziness washed over her, and then, right in front of me, Chai Na-yun collapsed.